So today we are going to talk about caustics rendering with V-Ray for Rhino. Here you have a let's say synthetic scheme of all the light phenomena which are connected to one single light ray um, touching the surface of an object with a given material. The phenomena that produce caustics effects are reflection and refraction. So we can talk about reflection caustics and refraction caustics. Basically, in V-Ray, they are now they are included in one single effect. Once in the oldest versions of V-Ray, there was this kind of differentiation between the two effects. So the caustics effects are basically these two here. So we can recognize this kind of effects, which are reflective caustics, and this one here, which are refractive caustics. So we will see how to render these two effects. It's very simple. So let's switch to Rhino. I have prepared a very simple model with just two objects, which are basically a metallic cube and a crystal glass here. So we will talk about reflection and refraction. So first let's work with the metallic cube and see what happens with how to set up reflective caustics. Okay, so this cube has this metal material applied. There is nothing particular about this material, nothing specific or particularly complex. It is just 100% reflective, and it is using Fresnel, but with a Fresnel IOR of 40. So to give this a typical metallic reflection effect. And more important is the max depth parameter, which is set to 10 instead of the default 5 value. Okay, so this is the only important difference between one standard metallic material and this one. So as for the render settings, you see that I am using Radiant Smart Light Cache. There is just an environment texture, which is a standard sky texture, so there is nothing particular about this texture. And as you can see, it is basically applied or working with the Rhino document sun, which, by the way, if we go to the light panel, you see that the Rhino document sun is turned off. So basically we only have a clear sky all around this model. Okay, so and we have no other light. So in this moment, let's just double check that this cube has the right material, and everything is set. So now just hit render button and let's see what happens. We have the main scene. You see that there is this kind of light blue reflection, which is basically the clear sky around the model. There is some diffuse light pouring on this model from all over the environment, which is the effect of having a background sky texture, but there is no light reflection or any other effect comparable with the caustic effect that we are looking for. So let's see how we can set up this effect. I'm going to leave the V-Ray progress window open because I want to show you some particular messages that appear in this window. So first thing first, I'm going to create a caustic photon emitter. So I'm going to go into V-Ray light and take the spotlight. Let's disable the snaps and place the target of the spotlight at the center of the cube, and give this spotlight an aperture of which is basically enough to include all the cube, and place the emitter far away in order to simulate some kind of distant light, which could be the sun, for example. And let's turn the control points of this light on. Let's take the target and move it at the center of the box, and let's take the emitter and move it up a little bit so we can have this kind of inclination of the light coming from the left of our model. So double escape, and this is it. Now the light is placed. Let's go and take a look at the settings of the V-Ray spotlight. So light intensity is by default set to 30. This is a parameter that could affect the caustics effect, because the more powerful the light emitter, the more intense will be the caustic effect. But in any case, we will see that this intensity is almost irrelevant, because we will work with another technique later. The more important thing is go into the Options tab and turn off Effect Diffuse and Effect Specular. So we can see that if we repeat the rendering, there is no effect of this light in this moment, because it is not affecting diffuse color, so it is not illuminating the scene, and it is not affecting the specular properties of the material. So basically we have a useless light in this moment, but the only thing that it is doing is casting caustic subtips. Now these are basically the photons that will be calculated during the rendering. Of course, in this moment we have caustics turned off, so there is no caustic calculation. I do recommend that you increase this value a little in order to have a smoother caustics effect in your scene. For now we will leave it to 1000, so we will have some crispy caustics appearing while rendering. So once the spotlight is set properly, we can go into the caustics tab, turn on the caustics, and leave everything like this. Okay, just simply hit render once again. And now the V-Ray progress window told us that it was calculating, it was building the caustics photon map. It was quite fast, because our spotlight is only casting 1000 photons. Okay, so now this is rendering the image. You see that there is no particular effect in this moment, but nevertheless the photon map was calculated. We can go into the V-Ray progress window and take a look at this message in particular, which is number of caustic photons stored, which is basically almost 1 million. Okay, so basically V-Ray calculated the photon map. So once the photon map is calculated, you see that there is no evidence of caustics effect in this moment. This is normal. We go back into the caustic settings, go into the disk caching, and as we don't want to calculate the photon map each time we hit the render button, we can save the photon map. Let's say we call it new map, and yes, I want to overwrite the file, and then once it is saved, we can tell V-Ray to work from file and load the new map. Okay, so actually this is very important, because we can see, I hit the render button once again, we can see that there is no building photon map in this new rendering. So we are skipping this pre-pass, which is time consuming when we work with a proper settings for the caustics. So what's next? We can simply increase the multiplier of the caustics effect. So this is basically another technique of working with caustics. Instead of working with light intensity, you can simply turn this to a value of, for example, 1 million and hit render once again, and you see that caustics start to appear. Okay, so yeah, okay, so you see this kind of strange curvature here. This is due to the fact that eventually the cone of the spotlight is not wide enough. So we must change this. And yes, I forgot, for example, to adjust the hotspot of the spotlight. So also remember to take the hotspot point and take it very close to the fall off circle. So basically what we are saying is that our spotlight is casting photons all over the circular area, which include the cube at its interior. So basically in this moment, unfortunately, but we are only working with 1000 caustic subtips, we must go back into the caustics settings and just switch back to new map and then hit render once again. You can see that this is building caustics photo map message appearing. Don't pay attention to this pre-calculation in this moment, but you can see, because it will disappear in the first rendering, but you could see that the reflection was complete. There was no curved border for this rendering caustics. So basically we can switch back now to, let's save this map once again. Let's tell the array to read the photo map from file and then go back and read this map. Let's take it with the same value of 1 million. Let's hit the render button and you can see that now our caustics effects are complete. So one consideration on this method: once you have the photo map stored in a file, if you don't change the settings of the spotlight or the light emitter in general, and you don't change the shape or position or material of your object, the photo map is still valid if you change the point of view. So if I change point of view like this, I go into a more frontal perspective and then I hit render once again, there is no caustics calculation because it is reading from file, and you can see it here loading. Oops, yeah, of course. It says loading caustic map from file, and here it is. So you see that these are exactly the reflection caustics generated by the same spotlight on the same cube with the same material in the same position. So there's no need to recalculate the photo map unless you change the position of the spotlight or the position and material of the objects. Okay, so this is for rendering reflective caustics. You will see now that when it comes to refractive caustics, some things have to change. So I will just turn off the metallic cube layer and switch the crystal glass on, and we are going to work with this crystal glass viewport now. So one simple consideration about the crystal material: of course, it is reflective and has a Fresnel IOR bound to the refraction IOR, which is the standard for reflective material using Fresnel, and it has the max depth set to 10 because our crystal will also be reflective and we want to calculate the reflective caustics, so it is worth increasing this value to 10 or more if you want. And then we go to refraction. Refraction, of course, it is 100% transparent, and it has a IOR index of refraction, which is set to 2.5. Normally this is 1.6, which is the IOR for glass, but I'm simulating some kind of crystal because it has more distortion, so it will bend or deviate the ray of light in a more intense way. And also max depth is set to 10 instead of 5, which is the standard. And more important, effect shadows must be turned off. So this is something that initially could look like incorrect. So if I go into caustics and turn off caustics, and let's see what's the meaning of effect shadows off or on. I will leave it on for now. So I'm going to render this scene. Of course, there is no shadow projected in this moment because basically our spotlight is not affecting anything. It is casting shadows, but as it is not affecting diffuse color, we see no particular evidence. There is only a very delicate shadow all around the glass because of the environmental light, which is basically the sky texture. Okay, so for one moment I'm going to affect diffuse and affect specular, set these two on, and I'm going to make a render. So you see that now the spotlight is affecting diffuse, so we clearly see the shadow projected by this glass. And as the material has these effect shadows turned on, you see that transparency is affecting the shadow, meaning that it has some effect, but shadow doesn't look extremely dark because light can pass through the material. So you see that in this area light is passing only through this thickness here, but in this area is passing through twice the thickness of the material, so the shadow becomes darker. Okay, so this should look normal. I mean, this should be exactly what we are looking for in terms of shadow. But anyway, in order to calculate the caustics effect, we must turn effect shadows off. Okay, so let's switch back to our V-Ray spotlight and turn off effect diffuse and effect specular. Go back to the material. So these are the settings of refraction for our material. Okay, don't forget to turn effect shadows off. In this area, we could also activate dispersion, which is basically breaking the ray of light into the second color of the rainbow, as we were seeing in the first image of this tutorial. But anyway, this increases the rendering time in a significant way, so I'm not going to do this. But I do recommend, in order to have a more realistic effect, to turn this value, to turn this parameter on. So let's go back to our caustic settings. Let's turn caustics on. Let's switch back to 10 because we also have to create a new map in this moment. So the important thing now is to understand that light cache secondary rays engine cannot work with this kind of caustics effect calculation because of the way that light cache is calculated. So I'm not going into this secondary rays rendering engine, how they work, but I'm going to switch simply from light cache to brute force secondary rays engine, and I'm going to switch back to our crystal glass perspective view and hit render once again. I guess I have some rendering. Yeah, okay, so let's stop this and let's render this. So we are going to build a caustic photon map from scratch. You see that now things are going a little bit slower. So here it is calculating, it is refining. We have a progressive rendering going on at this moment. So there is no need to wait for this render to finish because the only thing that we wanted was to save, to create a new photo map. So I can stop this and then I can just verify what happened here. Number of caustic photons stored 700,000. So yeah, the caustic photon map was created. So I'm going to save this new map once again, and then tell V-Ray I want to work with a photon map file, which is the new map. Okay, so now once again let's increase this to 1 million. And let's see what happens with this rendering. You see that we have a nice caustics effect coming here. There is also reflection caustics, which is basically all this light on the ground here and also here on the wall. But anyway, you see that we have both effects at once, which are reflective caustics because the crystal is reflective, and refractive caustics on the back with respect of the position of the spotlight. Okay, so now these caustics here they are visible, but they are quite crispy. They are not very smooth. So what we can do is simply go into the lights panel, go into the V-Ray spotlight, and simply increase the caustic subdivs, for example, to 5000. You will see that this will increase rendering time significantly. So if we adjust, we have to set these things back to creating a new photon map and then render this once again. You will see that building caustics photon map pre-pass will take quite longer than before, so I'm going to pause the recording right now and be back in a while. And here we are. This about to finish. So next step, it will calculate the primary and secondary rays for the global illumination, and eventually we will see in a short while. This has been quite a process. We will see how many photons were stored in this case in a while here in the V-Ray progress window. Let's wait for the building caustics photon map process to end. And here it is. Yeah, quite a bunch of photons. We are talking about 17 million photons stored. Of course, remember that at the first execution you see no caustics effect, but don't worry about this. It just immediately save the photon map, which, by the way, now I'm going to show you also how big this file can get. Example now is almost 1 gigabyte, for example. Okay, so it's quite a time-consuming process as well as a memory-consuming process. Okay, but the important thing is that reading the photon map from file is always faster than calculating the photon map each time we start a new render. Okay, so now let's increase this once again to very high values, and let's fire the rendering once again. So what we are going to see now, as we have no caustic photon maps building, what we are going to see now is that the caustic effect is going to be very smooth, already with 5000 photons casted from one single spotlight. You see that the effect becomes very, very smooth. Also at 200%, you see that this is quite a elegant caustic effect. Okay, so remember that it's not good to have the caustics effect calculated on every single light that you have in your scene. So I do recommend to use one single light, eventually a spotlight, to generate this kind of effect. Remember to use a spotlight, because in order to have this kind of nice caustics effect, it's better to work with concentrated light emitter instead of working with a diffuse light, like for example a light panel. So one last thing, I do recommend also to go into the render element tab and add caustics to the render layers. So when you hit render button, The V-Ray frame buffer will also calculate the caustics effect into a separate and put it into a separate layer, so eventually you could work and play with caustics effect in post-production simply using the caustics effect layer. This becomes visible only, yeah, here it is. So having caustics into a separated layer is useful if you work with some post-production process like compositing layers in Photoshop, for example, or any other compositing software. So this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I invite you to pay a visit to my website. The link will be in the description of this video tutorial, and have fun with V-Ray and Rhino.